Welcome to the Expert in You Showcase, the podcast for experts, entrepreneurs, and business leaders who are ready to elevate their influence and attract higher level clients and step into their next level of business growth. I'm your host, Jan Carden, and this show is brought to you by Expert in You. I work with high-performing professional entrepreneurs who want to turn their brilliance into an expert brand of influence and attract and sell higher value offers and premium clients on repeat with smart strategies. On this show, you'll hear powerful conversations with industry leaders who are creating impact and income in bold, strategic ways, and you'll walk away with insights and actionable steps to help you do the same. If you're ready to stop playing small and step into your next big move to make $1 million leap, book a call at acarden.com and we'll talk about how to make that happen. Now, let's dive in. Today, my guest is Dr. Brian Arnold. Brian, welcome to my show.
Hey, well, thank you for having me on. I'm excited about doing it today. This is a really cool show. I can't wait to spend some time with you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm excited to have you on. And we have a few technical difficulties getting here, but hey, we are here, Brian. We're here.
Love it.
Dr. B is in the house. That's what he said. I said, what do you want me to call you? He said, Dr. B. Yeah. So Dr. B is in the house today, and he has a new book coming out. So we're going to talk about that, but we're really going to talk about the content of the book. And I love this because one of Dr. B's ideas is that you should become before you do. So let's just dive right into that. Tell everybody, first of all, how you kind of got to where you are right now doing what you're doing. Just give us a quick overview of that story.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on today. I can't wait to kind of talk about some of the new stuff and the things that I've been doing. It's so fun when you get to help people in their purpose. And so yes. When I do my podcast, Living Boldly with Purpose, we kind of talk about what does it mean to be in purpose? What does it mean to be able to get to a place in your life where you get to serve others in a way that God would have you do it. And so, my whole thing whether I'm coaching, whether I'm talking to people, is how do I help people become the person they need to be in order to do what God put them on this planet to do. And so, my first book was called There Is No Tiger, and we talk about overthinking and controlling anxiety and, all these things that we roll in our mind, that movie that we play of all the things that are never going to happen, and it stops us dead in our tracks. And so when we can get to the point where we're helping people move forward, helping people get unstuck, helping people say, wait a minute, I can actually do this. I don't have to wait. And so the new book is going to be called Be, Do, Have. It's literally those three words, be, do, have. And when we think about becoming the person that we need to be, how do we do that? Because we do so many things backwards. We say, okay, I want to have, do, be. Just a quick story. When I was started being a professor, and I was working at the high school at the same time, and I got these double jobs, and I decided, hey, I'm going to go to the BMW dealership, and I'm going to buy myself a brand new car because I deserve it, right? I got this. I'm this person. Well, I wasn't that person who deserved a BMW. I was the one who showed up there. So I thought I was going to go get me like a 5 Series or a 3 Series or something like that. And I walk out of there with a 750 that was a little bit older, but it was like, that's their flagship. And so I drive around the parking lot at the university with my windows down and acting like I'm the coolest person and waving. And this was back in the 90s. And so, that's when we had like cell phones in the car, and it was like $1 a minute for a cell phone.
I remember those days.
Oh my God. But so I wasn't calling anybody, but I'd hold the phone to my ear, and I'd take 20 minutes to park, although there was parking spots all over the place, just so I could feel like I had the thing that made me look like I was the person who did what I was supposed to do. And now I had to figure out, how am I going to go pay for this BMW? How am I going to make sure? At the time, I think we had 3 kids, and, we're trying to figure out how to make life work. And my wife's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I look cool, and then I ran down the street path.
Until they take your car away.
Yeah, no, I was working on my doctorate. I was in LA at the time, and I was going down to like San Diego State. And I would actually, like, on the way back, because the classes would end at 11 o'clock at night, and it was like an hour and a half drive. I didn't have money for a hotel or anything. I would sleep in the back of the car. Say, okay, yeah, this is the guy who deserves and has done it. And now I've started to realize, how do we become and work on our personal
Mhm.
development and work on ourselves, and how much time should we do that? And when we have intention, make sure, oh, there's going to be disruption. There's going to be things that are going to come your way. But how do we start doing the things, when I say do, it's like there's a gap between be and do. And then there's a gap between do and have. And so our potential is that gap that we separate, but we have to know what that potential is and then work towards it. So, for most people that I sit down with, I'm like, who do you want to be? And they're like, what do you mean, who do you want to be? Well, what are you trying to be? Because if you were already that person, you would already be doing the thing. And so if you have this big dream of what you want to do, you would
Mhm.
already be doing it, because if you become that person, you can't help but do it, which is
Right.
so cool. You really, truly can't help but do it.
I love this. I talk about this as well. Who do you get to be when you decide what your
Hmm.
next thing is, or the level that you're going to step into? But something else that really resonated with me is you were really talking about your purpose, and even being aligned with God and his intentions for you. And I have always, all of my businesses, all of them were really God led and God inspired, and he always guided my path and my steps. And that's been such and got me through the storms and all of the things that go on in business. And I think that's such a powerful piece of what my businesses have always been. And I always wonder how people do it without God and
I
without
can't
being
imagine.
aligned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
I love it.
and one of the things that when I think of our Creator and what He's given us and what He's put inside of us, sometimes we get in such a lack mentality, like there's not abundance, and then I serve a God who's a God of
Mm,
abundance, but somehow people believe that if I get to have, I have to take from you, or there's not enough resources to go around.
right.
But
Which is just
because
not
He's
true.
Yes, so
Mhm,
not true, and because He's given us all our special gifts, we
mhm.
can utilize our gifts in abundance and then work in combination with other folks. And so, I might be a great speaker, but you might be a great writer, and you can write my speeches or whatever it is that I'm doing, and God allows us to do that. And so when we get into this, when I think about I think about getting into the learning mode where we're
Mhm.
trying to learn. God has made us creatures that love to learn. When you see
Yes.
somebody who has learned something, and they're in this mode where they're understanding it and they're getting it, and the light bulb comes in, they get
Mhm.
so happy and excited, and then they want to create, because I believe God
Right.
created us to create, right? And so
It is a natural progression.
it
Yes.
is. And
Mhm.
so that's the B stage, is we got to learn, then we can go into create. And then when we become to the do stage, that's where our love and connection and relationships, I really think, happen. And because everything revolves around relationships.
Mhm.
And the better relationships we have, the better our lives are. And so when I think about, whether it's a relationship with your spouse, and what am I doing on a daily basis to make sure my family's taken care of? I
Yeah.
have 8 children, and I have 16 grandkids. And one of my goals in life is just to make sure that I get to spend time with them. I think sometimes
Mhm.
we get away
Yes.
from the nuclear family sometimes, and the family unit and the things. I've been really working with folks of color and, Black men lately. I have a whole program called Journey to Freedom that I work with. And there's so many things that the family unit has seemed to just been dissolved a little bit, and
Mhm.
feeding into, when I think about our culture and great grandma or big mama who was always in the house and saying, you're wonderful, you're awesome, you're spectacular. Sometimes our families have lost that so much, and that
They
love and
have.
connection is just so important. And so how do we make sure that we're tight on our relationships,
Mhm.
and our associations and the people we hang around with, and we go with a thought of service instead of a thought of what is in it for me.
Mhm.
Because when we even think about the money that we make, and I mean, at the beginning of the show, I loved your intro when you talked about you want to make $1 million, right? Well, all the income that we have right now came from a relationship somewhere, came from us serving
Right.
in some way.
Somebody, yes, you got that somewhere.
Right?
Yes.
You have to, even if you have a job, you're serving somebody in order for
Yes.
them to pay you. And we think, oh, about me, next me, and then sometimes we start making our first paycheck, or we make our first thing, and then we go, oh. oh, how am I going to make more? What do I do to make more? Instead of remembering what we did to serve the person in order to
Mhm.
make it in the first place. And so that
Yes.
service, and then once you start having, then you get to contribute, right? Then the contribution comes in, and you get to matter and your legacy and that kind of stuff. And so, like I said, sometimes we just do it so backwards. We try to have, or do.
Hmm.
We get stuck in this, oh my gosh, a cycle of doing. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. Then you start saying, well, I'm not really good at doing it, so I'm going to try. You don't get to try to do anything. You either do it or you don't.
Right.
But the issue is if you haven't become the person who can do it, then you're going to have to try because you're not equipped to do that. You haven't, I guess, what you say sometimes gone through the schools or the school of hard knocks or whatever
Hmm.
it is in that becoming phase that's so important. And then we kind of separate our entertainment from our education so much. So many people use, I think, entertainment as a distraction.
Hmm.
Whether it's scrolling through your videos or watching TV at
Yes.
night or all those, oh my gosh, those things that we do. And I love entertainment. I love going to concerts. I love seeing the best of what God has given the talent to people to do. I love movies. I love, I love everything about going to be entertained. But sometimes I think we spend it instead of our lives and growing our lives. Like I have buddies that will tell me everything about like NFL football players like Patrick Mahomes or Jason Hurd or the young guys that they can tell me all the stats and I'll ask them about their kids and they kind of look up and go, I'm like, you know more about a player that you will never
Wow.
meet
Hmm.
than you know about your own children. How much
Hmm.
time did you spend working on your relationship with your wife? How often did you tell her that you loved her? How often, what are those things? Are you writing her notes? Are you at the barbershop talking about, I live in Denver, so the latest Nugget game or who's in the championships or who's the playoffs, and like I said, entertainment is great, but those guys are living their dreams, right? When
Yes.
are we
Yeah.
going to spend the time living our dreams and working on us? And so there has to be that, okay, I will spend a portion of my time being entertained, but not distracted. How can I work on me?
I love that. It's so true that we are in a society where it's easy to be complacent and not really do things that move your life forward or make a difference in your life. And I always say, why would you? I'm with you. Entertainment's fine to a degree, right? But to sit there and care more about what other people are doing instead of working to do it for yourself just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm like, this is, you get one life, right? This is your life until you go to heaven. This is what you've been given. So are you wasting it or are you using it in a way that's going to impact?
Absolutely. And so many people tell me, I wish I could have this, or I want to get this, or I'm working towards this goal of,
Hmm.
being financially independent. And then I'll say, okay, show me your calendar, show
Yeah,
me
what you've done. Yes.
what you're
Yeah.
actually doing.
It's not aligned, is it? I,
Oh
you
my
know,
gosh, it's so far off.
I'm putting together a webinar that I'm going to be doing. And one of the things that I'm bringing up is, everybody says, oh, I'd love to make $1 million leap. And very few will ever put in the effort to actually make it happen. They'll show up for every free thing. They'll show up for every free thing, like that's going to make a difference, right? Like that's actually nothing wrong with learning, but it's not going to help you if you don't implement, if things don't actually happen or you don't actually take the steps to make that happen. And I see that so much in the entrepreneur space, and I know you do too. If you were out there working with entrepreneurs or working with people.
You're so right. And I talked to like folks that are saying this, and I asked them, were you ever in band in high school? Were you ever in a sport in high school? Did you ever work so hard over a period of year, like in theater or something, where you spent weeks and weeks and weeks in order to have one line in a play, or to practice all year long to play 1 hour in a game or in several
Yeah.
games, or practice your instrument every single day, and you were willing to do that, right? You
Hmm.
were willing to do that in high school and spend 3 or 4 years, so maybe you could get a scholarship or something. And then I say, so what are you doing to work on you right now in
Right.
order so that you can have what you're talking about, your dream? And then
Right.
you come back and you tell me about what's happening on the latest show that's on TV. And they got 10 episodes and you binge watched it. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's the last book you read? What's the last, have you been coached? I mean, I've been a track coach for 38 years now, and I've coached Olympians, I've coached high school champions, I've coached all kind of really incredible athletes. But not one of them would say they could do that without somebody who's watching them, who's coaching them, who's moving them forward, who is looking at what they're doing and giving them feedback. And yet these folks will go, well, I'll just watch YouTube. I'll watch a million hour, and there's nothing wrong with YouTube. I get a lot out of YouTube. In fact, I'm on
YouTube. Of course,
you're on YouTube,
but you still have to implement, or you still have to. Even if I see something on YouTube that I'm like, okay, that's what I need to do next, or what I want to do next, I still have to go find the person that can help me do it, because I'm like, I have a short runway. I'm getting old. And I have a short runway to get to my goals or to accomplish the things. I don't believe, I'm not 20 anymore. I don't believe in like taking forever to accomplish things. And we don't have to do that in the world today. So
no, and YouTube doesn't see your blind spots.
No,
right?
No, not at all. Or the nuances and the details for execution. This is the other thing. I'm like, I work with a lot of business coaches, and they know that they're business coaches. They know the concept of what they should be doing. They have the picture of what they should be doing and the vision, and they even might have the roadmap. It doesn't mean they're executing in a way that it's working or getting them to the results that they want, because they can't see the nuances, the details. They're too close to it, right? They can't see the blind spots that you're talking about. And it's such a mistake people make, which is why you and I exist, right? To help people.
To help people get there. And then, sometimes they forget the service side of it. And they'll watch somebody and they'll try to duplicate and copy what that person's doing, not realizing they don't have all the experience of that person. They don't have all the failures and all the things that person tried. If they could just talk to that person, spend a few hours with that person, or somebody like them, they can go, wait a minute, if you could just tweak this one little thing or this one thing. Oh, I see what you're doing. You made this intro and you really you didn't even think about what the other person wants. You're trying to give them what you want, what you think you want. You don't have they don't want that. They want their lives to change, not to help you change your life. And so just so many little things that if you can be, like I said, go back to that, becoming that person. And you can't do that by yourself. And that's why God didn't create us to be by ourselves and to figure out our own. He created us to be a relationship, and He created us to serve. And so it's so fun to be able to not only talk about it, to be able to help people get there.
Isn't this the best life ever, to get to help people and do it for a living?
It is. And
it doesn't get better in my opinion.
No, it doesn't get better, because you truly, and there's so many times where I was on a mission trip, or I was doing, something, I'm going, yes, I'm serving God and I'm doing some fun things. And those were all great. But sometimes I left there and said, well, what difference can I make if I can't help fund it, if I can't help put some more money into it? Because you see some of the things that money could fix like this. And there's always
it fixes a lot of problems. Let's just face it.
It does. It's just a tool that God has given us to be able to make a difference in the world. And sometimes we say, I've just got to do more service to get to more service. And sometimes we spend so much time doing more. But if we put our efforts in the right spot, it makes more impact. And that's where I kind of found out, I don't mind doing more. I don't mind working hard. I don't mind doing the work.
But don't just be busy.
Yeah, I just don't want to be busy.
Yes.
I want to make impact.
Yes. I love that. Hi, friend. I have an exciting announcement. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Expert in You podcast, but I have to ask you, have you checked out the latest issue of Expert in You magazine yet? It's jam-packed with rich content, powerful strategies, inspiring stories, and so much more to help you elevate your business and personal growth. Don't miss out. Go grab your digital copy now and join our community of experts making a difference every day. Go to expertinyoumagazine.com and check out your digital copy today. Transform your expertise into success with Expert in You magazine. It's not just a publication, it is a movement. if you think back to when you were younger, or where you first really grabbed onto personal development, can you think of maybe one of the first people that you listened to or learned from that really impacted what you're doing today?
Yeah, I can remember there was, back in my Amway days, back in the 80s and stuff, there were
Don't
like,
say Jim Rohn, because he's one of my all-time favorites.
oh gosh, Jim Rohn,
He was
actually.
probably one of my first
Oh,
real personal development people that I listened
oh,
to.
as he was mine. That's all
Mhm.
they're gonna pay you, or they're not
Yes.
what they pay you. So then, and I went to some Tony Robbins stuff. I
Mhm.
was fortunate. I worked with a financial services company in the 2000s, and so
Mm.
I don't know if people who are watching here might know Ed Milet. So I was in an office with Ed Milet for 8 years. Me
Oh,
and him.
wow.
Yeah, I
That's amazing.
tore my Achilles on his
Mhm.
basketball court there, and then I was another 3 years with Patrick Big David. So
Okay.
so him and I were together. So those are guys that I saw grow and move into where they're at now, and are still really good friends. And so there's just been so many people that I continue. John Maxwell is one of those. I had an amazing pastor that I had who grew a church, and he's when we were part of it, where there's probably 200 members. By the time we left, there was 10,000, and he talked about leadership, and we had special leadership classes that I was able to follow him and got to teach some of them and do that kind of
Who
stuff.
was the pastor?
His name was Diego Mesa, and it was in Southern
Okay, not
California.
haven't heard him. So
Yeah,
okay.
so but just an amazing, that
Yeah.
to be able to spend time with him, and
Yeah.
grow. And he was a big mentor of mine. We met every Thursday for
Mhm.
coffee, and as the church grew, and the things that he was able to teach me, like one of the biggest things is hurting people hurt people. I would say that
Yes.
was the biggest
It's a big
lesson I
one.
ever learned, because now if I sing somebody who's lashing out,
Mhm.
somebody who is upset, somebody who is saying mean things, I think to myself, hurting people
They're
hurt.
hurt. Mhm.
And
There's
so
a
if I can find out why they're hurting, I don't
mhm.
have to worry about the behavior that I'm seeing, because that's a symptom of
Right.
something deeper that's going on. And I've
Yeah.
been looking at people, that's probably 30 years ago, that I've been looking at people different ever since. And I
Yeah,
don't
you
think,
just show up with a very different attitude, or and just this empathy when you really understand that. And I think it's super powerful. We didn't plan on that coming out, but I think that's so powerful. We really hit on a lot of gold nuggets here today in a very short amount of time, I think. Hopefully, some great takeaways for everyone. Um, I value your time. I wish we had longer to talk, but this has been so amazing. I know that people got some great things out of this. And just a real quick story. I interviewed someone on my podcast who worked alongside Jim Rohn for years and years and years. He was like, they rode in the car together and they did all of
oh
this.
my
And
gosh.
yeah, yeah. And so it was really fun to hear from him. And he is actually still part of Amway. He's one of the top leaders in Amway. And it was just really interesting to interview him and get to know him. And he's been to a couple of to my workshop and things like that. So a lot of fun. So Jim Rohn's one of my favorites. I just absolutely loved him. And
Yeah, him and Zig Ziglar, and then,
yeah, yes. I,
and-
I even quoted both of them in my first book, my very
oh, did
first
you? Oh,
yeah,
good.
that I did 15, I think about 15 years ago,
Mhm.
around small business. And I have some Jim Rohn quotes in there, and I have some Zig Ziglar quotes in there. And they really were such an inspiration for me. Along with same thing, pastors, mentors. There have been a lot of people along the journey, but I think Jim Rohn was probably one of my first, what I would say, real personal development people that I, paid attention to and really built off of. So,
Yeah, I
anyways,
think Stephen
it's a
Covey was
fun
another
story.
one that I learned a lot from.
Who?
Stephen Covey and the
Yes,
Seven
yes,
Habits of Highly Effective People.
yes, yeah, and I even love Speed of Trust. Have you
Yeah,
read that? That's a
yes,
great
I have. Oh
too.
gosh,
Yes, I
yeah,
love that. We're in a trust world today, right? In a market, I should say.
yeah.
And now trust is everything. So,
Yeah, and just because there's a guy named David Horsager who he does a whole seminar, everything on, called The Trusted Edge. And so I went to one of his seminars about a
mhm,
year and a half ago, and he's done all this research on how to start with trust and how to lead with trust and how trust is
mhm,
everything. And my whole Journey to Freedom program came out of it. And then today I actually get to interview him on my podcast.
Oh,
It's
that's super
so I'm
cool.
so excited. 400 or 500 people
Ah.
in the room, and
Give your
just
podcast a shout out. What is it again?
it's called The Journey to Freedom, and the one that
Okay.
I'm doing with him is called Living Boldly with Purpose. So that's kind of the overarching Living Boldly, and then the Journey to Freedom came out of it, which is that was exclusively for Black men, but I'm interviewing him on Living Boldly with Purpose. Oh my
Mm,
gosh, I can't wait! And then my
yeah.
other hero right now is Myron Golden,
Uh-huh.
and
I love Myron. I love him.
so
He's one of my
Myron is on my
favorites too.
podcast 2 weeks ago.
Oh
So
my goodness. I absolutely love him. He's one of the few that I follow really
yes, so
online and
like yeah, I
uh,
went down to Florida and spent some time with them, and so I
so
can't wait to
cool.
get some support. Yeah, so
So cool.
that's kind of where I'm at. But personal development is so big.
Mm,
So.
yeah. One of the things I love about Myron Golden is also just his faith and how he brings all of that into entrepreneurship is just super powerful. And he's a smart guy. Oh my goodness, he is so smart.
Yes, he is. He is super, and his ability to communicate the concepts is what
Oh,
makes him
amazing. He's
so
such a
incredible.
brilliant communicator. Yes. And
Yeah.
he's funny. He's entertaining too. So
Yeah.
yeah, who doesn't love that? Really solid stuff and entertaining as well. So anyways, all right. Dr. B, this has been so much fun. What would you like to drive people to today? Is your book's not out yet? Are you pre-selling it
Yeah,
or
we'll start pre-selling it. I still have the book that There Is No Tiger. If you go to
okay?
brienearnold.com,
Mhm.
all my stuff is at that site. Everything I do, whether I'm coaching, I'm also coaching people on how to do podcasting and helping
Oh,
people get their podcast started. And so I call myself the podcast coach and how to, for folks that want to get leads and that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you go to my site, a couple books that are there, and the other one will be coming out. Be Do Have will be pre-sold here very, very soon. And so Myron's looking at it right now to make sure I'm okay with it before I send it out. So that's kind of my last person I'm waiting on before it gets published. So yeah, it's just so many neat things to be able to do. Love if you send me comments or do anything, I'll make sure that I DM you back and that kind of stuff. Anything I can do to help you grow to be the person that you need to be. My prayer every day is, dear Lord, give me the wisdom to do the things you put me on this earth to do in a way that pleases you and serves others. And if I can do that every
mm,
single day, that's Solomon's prayer. So it ain't mine. I didn't steal it, but if I could do that every day I get up, then the day is going to be an amazing day.
so good. So good. Well, thank you so much for being here. This has been so much fun. Such a pleasure to have you on. And yes, we went way longer than I originally told you we were going to go, but if the conversation's good, you don't want to just cut it off. So thanks, Dr. B.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate being on your show. Go listen to more of these shows. She's so awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Expert in You Showcase. God bless you all. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye. If you are ready to attract high-paying clients like clockwork, build powerful influence and scale your business with ease, let's talk. Book a complimentary $1 Million Accelerator Strategy call at acarden.com to discover how the Expert in You method can help you create a steady stream of premium clients and consistent revenue growth. Don't wait. Your next big breakthrough starts with a simple conversation. Visit acarden.com and let's make it happen. Have an amazing day and God bless you.